While many people rack their brains trying to overcome life with brute force, there is a snail living 2 kilometers underground, withstanding extreme heat and pressure as if nothing had happened. The truth. The strangest animals on the planet hide ingenious strategies that most people ignore. They are not the strongest, they are the most adaptable. And they use this to their advantage like no one else. Do you want to learn about productivity, creativity, and strategic intelligence in a way that no one else has taught you? Then pay attention. Because from now on, every creature you meet will have something powerful to show you. Starting with a war tank, with the body of a mollusk. In an unexplored corner of the Indian Ocean, there lives a true miniature armored tank, the volcanic snail. Imagine a creature capable of withstanding a pressure equivalent to 240 times the weight of the atmosphere we feel here on the surface, and still smiling, if snails can smile, in the face of temperatures approaching 400 degrees Celsius. All of this thanks to its shell made of iron sulfide, a material worthy of medieval armor. Interesting fact, it doesn't just survive, it thrives there. It's as if it were telling the world, give me more heat and pressure, and I will show you resistance. Now, if you think that's impressive, know that the secret is in the genes. This snail has a metal tolerance gene that is 27 times more efficient than that of its more fragile cousins. Have you ever thought about this applied to human engineering? Imagine clothes that adapt to hostile environments or shields that resist fire with the lightness of paper. Nature is always teaching us. We just need to have curious enough eyes to see it. And this curiosity, my friend, is what separates the limited from the visionaries. And look at the lesson of persistence that this snail teaches without opening its mouth. After all, it doesn't have a mouth. It shows us that the environment does not determine your failure, but rather how adaptable you are. How many times have you felt under pressure? Imagine if, instead of retreating, you protected yourself with knowledge and strategy. Practical curiosity. Study resilient materials, such as graphene or titanium. Understanding how resistance is built can change the way you face challenges. It's funny how we look at a snail and only think about slowness, right? But this one runs invisible marathons, at the bottom of the sea, in a war against the impossible. And deep down, what it teaches us is that even the slowest forms have power when they are consistent and well protected. And if even a mollusk can overcome adversity with its iron armor, what's stopping you from doing the same with your tools? The answer may be just beneath the sand, or perhaps, drawn by an artist swimming nearby. Deep in the ocean, where light barely dares to reach, lives an artist who trades his paintbrush for fins, the male pufferfish. And this isn't just any art form. He sculpts sand mandalas with such precise symmetry that it would leave Leonardo da Vinci speechless. And do you know why? For love. Or rather, to win a mate. It's the underwater equivalent of writing poetry or cooking a candlelit dinner. Fun fact, he does this 24 hours a day, for an entire week. Who said fish don't dedicate themselves? This artistic dance is a powerful reminder. Beauty attracts, but effort enchants. The pufferfish isn't born knowing how to draw. He learns, makes mistakes, and redoes it. And in the end, it's this commitment to excellence that makes the female stop and think, maybe this is the right guy. The application of this, your resume, your personal project, your social media, all of this is your mandala. Get it right, because someone important might be watching. Curiosity drives you to learn, but your attention to detail is what sets you apart. Now, think about it. This fish works with sand, a common, banal resource that no one values. And yet, it transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. This says a lot about how we use what we have at our disposal. Do you have an old cell phone? It works miracles with it. Do you only have 1 hour a day? Focus and make it work. Great creations are born from limitations. Fun fact, human artists have also created masterpieces with coal and cave walls. What stops you from creating with what you have? And between you and me, is there anything more fascinating than seeing such a small being work so hard towards a goal? It doesn't give up at the first setback, or the second, and the current at the bottom of the sea is not easy, you know? But there it is, swimming against it, arranging each grain of sand with an almost zen-like precision. And here we are, often giving up at the first no. Perhaps we just need to learn from those who have already understood that persistence, combined with curiosity and intention, shapes the future, even underwater. If you think you've seen everything about spiders, wait until you meet this creature that seems to have come out of a fantasy book, the ogre-faced spider. It has the largest eyes of all known spiders, and it's not just for seeing in the dark. With these bulging eyes, it sees the world in high definition, even when everything around it is shadow and silence. But the most curious part comes now. It uses poop. Yes, poop as bait. A strategy that, as bizarre as it may seem, works better than a lot of advertising out there. This spider is pure guerrilla marketing. It perceives the sounds around it with hairs on its legs, which gives it an absurd sensitivity. Any small movement and there it is, ready to act. So, it launches its web like a ninja net, captures its prey and, without ceremony, injects venom that dissolves everything inside it. Sounds cruel? Maybe. But in nature, efficiency is a matter of survival. Fun fact, it hunts best at night, when most people are asleep, something to think about when we talk about quiet productivity. Now, let's take a moment to think. How many times have you ignored the poop in life? That is, the things that seemed useless, disgusting, embarrassing. What if it was exactly this stuff that gave you a competitive advantage? Have you ever seen how many companies were born out of failures? Or how many brilliant ideas emerged from uncomfortable situations? Fun fact, toilet paper itself only became popular after a lot of cultural resistance. Sometimes, the key is where you least expect it, literally in the trash. And yet there are people who underestimate the little guys. This spider, the size of a fingernail, does more than many large predators. It understands its environment, uses alternative resources, and doesn't waste energy. This is especially true for those who are always trying to do everything at once, without focus. If you know where to aim, like it does, you can achieve a lot with very little. And speaking of precise aim, perhaps the next character on our journey will know how to apply force to exact points with a, shall we say, piercing talent. Knock, knock, knock. The rhythmic sound coming from the trees may seem repetitive, but for those who understand, it is pure engineering in action. The woodpecker is not just making noise, it is carving its home, one beak at a time, like someone hammering dreams. 20 pecks per second. That's right, per second. And the most curious thing is that it does not get headaches, because its skull is a biological masterpiece. Fun fact, its tongue is so long that it goes around its head and wraps around its brain, like a natural seatbelt. Do you know what this teaches? That repetition is not synonymous with failure. It is construction. The woodpecker shows that persistence, when it has direction, generates results. Have you thought about applying this focus to your routine? Whether it is studying, entrepreneurship, or creating content. Do a little each day, at the same rhythm, with active curiosity. A good start. Read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. It contains the secret of how small actions create great transformations. And there's more. Some species of woodpeckers store acorns in holes, as if they were vending machines. Look at this ingenuity. They store food in an organized way, anticipating future needs. It's the equivalent of investing in a good fund today to reap the rewards tomorrow. Want a practical example? Search for Tesoro Dorito or CDBs from medium-sized banks. It's the kind of strategy that seems simple, but that, in the long run, changes your life. It all starts with the curiosity to understand where to put your effort. This bird, which looks like a wood knocker, is actually a born strategist. It knows where to hit, when to hit, and, most importantly, why. It doesn't waste energy, it just applies it with precision. And those who observe it closely realize that it has much more to teach than it seems. Speaking of striking presence, our next character has an imposing appearance, horns that look like dragon wings, and a natural cooling system that teaches a lesson in innovation. Imagine an animal that looks like it came straight out of an ancient African tale, with horns so wide they look like antennas on an organic satellite. This is the Watusi cattle. Majestic, calm, and resilient, they carry on their heads one of the most fascinating structures in the animal kingdom. Horns that function as a natural air conditioning system. Each horn can reach 2.5 meters and is full of blood vessels that dissipate heat. Fun fact, they thrive even under the scorching sun of the African savanna, without complaining. These horns are not just for appearance, they are pure strategy. It is nature saying, "Want to withstand the heat? Use your head," literally. And this is how the Watusi remind us that appearance and functionality can, indeed, go hand in hand. This applies to everything, from the way you organize your routine to the way you position yourself on social media. It is beautiful, but is it efficient? It is attention-grabbing, but is it delivering value? Curiosity here serves as a bridge between beauty and practical intelligence. And there's more. Every cow has unique horns, like fingerprints. They never stop growing, molding themselves according to time and environment. Have you ever thought of this as a metaphor for identity? You too have unique markings, which change over time. The question is, are you allowing yourself to grow, or are you trying to fit into someone else's mold? A good practice: write about your experiences, even if no one reads them. Writing is a mirror of growth. And curiosity is the key that unlocks this process. The Watusi lives in balance with the heat, not fighting it. It adapts, molds itself, transforms adversity into part of its own body. That's what it's all about. Because in the end, it's not the strongest that dominates the environment, but the most adaptable. And perhaps, by understanding this, we can begin to better use our natural tools. Now that you've met this serene giant, how about taking a step back and seeing the whole picture, from the snail to here? Now tell me, which of these strategies will you apply first in your life? Will you use the persistence of a woodpecker? The creativity of a pufferfish? Or perhaps the calculated coldness of an ogre-faced spider? It's all there, hidden in nature, teaching lessons to those who have eyes and curiosity to learn. The big question is, will you keep waiting for a success manual? Or will you start studying with the invisible masters of real life? And look, you don't have to change everything at once. Just start. One habit, one choice, a new way of seeing the world. Because if even an armored snail can thrive in the liquid hell of the ocean, you can also change the game wherever you are. Now tell me here in the comments, which of these animals surprised you the most? Which one looks like you? I'm curious to know. If this content opened your eyes, then don't leave here without subscribing to the channel and activating the bell. That way, you can continue learning and being surprised by the best-kept secrets of nature and of your own potential.